Hello, welcome to the very first episode of I Hate My Kids, an unserious podcast for a serious subject. I'm your host, Joseph Carter Brown, and thank you for joining me on this. I know seeing a podcast named I Hate My Kids is kind of jarring. You're like, why would you ever even say that? Well, let's be honest. If you are a parent, I have a daughter. She is 15. She's amazing, and I love her to death. But there have definitely been those times where I just want to scream into a pillow. And if you're anything like me, you have been there. Kids can be totally amazing, but they can also be just complete fucking maniacs. And so this podcast is for people who can relate to that. Like I mentioned, I'm a dad. I'm a curious person though, and I like to hear other people's perspectives, and I just like to explore the human condition in so many different ways. So I'm not here trying to come up with answers or tell anybody how they need to operate. Really, I just want to hear from other people. I want to connect with other people and commune with them in the fellowship that is raising a little monster sometimes. And quite frankly, I just want to talk shit about my kids sometime. Because if I love you, I'm going to talk shit about you. That's just part of this deal. And maybe that's not okay, but that's who I am. Speaking of who I am, like I mentioned, I am Joseph Carter Brown. I am a creative, curious person. I am the founder of a design consultancy called DoSomething.design, where I work in human-centered design, brand strategy, and research. So I try to help people tell stories and solve problems and build meaningful experiences. But at the end of it all that I do is rooted in my own sense of curiosity and empathy and reflection and just willingness sometimes just sit inside of a little mess, which honestly is what I believe parenting is all about. So I just wanted to bring that into this podcast, not as an expert, but really just as someone who's trying to learn and doing it out loud. So what is I Hate My Kids going to be? Well, it's going to feature one-on-one conversations with dads, but really all parents, to have some honest conversations and talk about real stuff, the joy, the rage, the confusion, and even the growth of being a parent. It's a really deep and sometimes messy, really hilarious at times situation. But the hope for this podcast is to stay lighthearted and really grounded, quite frankly, in real care for people, families, and kids. And not here to judge, but to vibe together, to reflect, and to just have some human stories. So I am grateful to bring this into the world, and when I think about who this is for, I speak from a father's perspective because that's who I am. That's how I identify. And so I'm going to seek out other perspectives, especially from fathers, to learn from them. But honestly, this is intended to include and give voice to everyone, all parents, all caregivers who are just navigating the chaos of being a parent. Like I said, I hope you enjoy the show. Well, I'm not a professional. This is for my own edification, but I hope that you continue to follow along on this journey, that you participate. I hope that you'll laugh and maybe cringe, maybe even cry. But I hope that you will also hear some voices you haven't heard before and hear especially about just understand that ultimately none of us are alone in this kind of weird, beautiful, painful thing we call parenting. Now, before I wrap up completely, I want to take a moment to acknowledge one part of this conversation, and that is the tone of this. Again, I understand the name, I Hate My Kids, could turn some people off, and that's okay. I know that not every conversation is going to be for everyone, and I accept that. However, I also want to make sure I acknowledge the fact that while the tone of this podcast, I'm a person who's always going to try to push the limits, and I will push the limits of appropriateness, and I encourage that. But I do not, nor will I, accept hateful, inhumane, or denigrating language toward anyone. So while we may not know what the boundaries are until we hit them on this podcast, I'm willing to understand that. I, as host, will do my best to respectfully work with the audience, work with guests to ensure that we're having human conversations that are respectful, that are supportive, with a little bit of good nature ribbing. And that's it for me today. Thank you so much once again for listening. Please subscribe, like, follow on whatever podcasting platform you're using. If you have any inquiries or comments, feel free to reach out to me at ihmk@dosomething.design and let me know what you thought about the show. If you have any questions, or just send me spam. I don't know. Once again, I'm Joseph Carter Brown. Thank you. This has been a Do Something.design production. All audio edited by me, Joseph Carter Brown. Intro music is Beat 10 by the Open Music Archive. And exit music is The Georgia Stomp by DJ Assault. Both are licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 license, available at creativecommons.org/licenses/by-SA/4.0.